Hello adventurers, we're back on the road again, heading north to a really interesting spot, just an extension of my interest in old shipwrecks and Dutch shipwrecks. Earlier on, if you look at the channel, I did a two-part series on the Zuiddorp up north of Calgary that hit the rocks. This one here is called the Gilt Dragon, not that far north of Perth. Fairly accessible. A lot of people know about it and know the stories, some really interesting stories that we'll go into later. But we're just going to go and have a look at the Gilt Dragon hit rocks off the coast. About 65 people got to the coast and they camped out in some caves. So we're going to go and check out these caves. I'm pretty sure there's some carvings on the walls and things like that that are still visible. And there was a story that a skeleton was found in a cave up here in the 60s. So we'll take a look at that cave. So yeah, it should be a pretty interesting trip, and not far up here, so it's not far out of Perth. It's a nice close one. And we'll see how we go, and if we stay out here for a while, we'll stay overnight and have an overnighter. So see you when we're further down the road. We're just going to let the tyres down. This truck's getting pretty corrugated and it's pretty rough, so I'll just get the gear out. 20 or something, because it'll be sand up here. Tyres let down. So this is a track here, but it will turn into a sand track up here, so let's get on our way. To the sand track, so this should take us to the coast. Track in still, and we can't be too far from some shacks where we have to turn left. We have two tracks here, one left and one right. I think I can take the left track. I think so. I'll try that one. If not, we'll come back and do the right, but we're not far away because the ocean's just there. So there's some shacks just down here we're passing. People own these, and we just need to keep on heading south until we hit where the cave is for where the survivors of the Gilt Dragon actually sheltered. So that's where we're making our way south. this should be the turn off to the cave and the eagle's nest. So let's head down here and we'll see what's down here. So in 1656, the Gilt Dragon made a mistake in its navigation. Back then, latitude was pretty easy to calculate, but longitude was very difficult, and it wasn't until the advent of accurate clocks on ships that they could accurately do longitude. So they would come around the bottom of Africa, and originally they used to go further north, but a guy called, I think it's Brewer, discovered a new faster way, which meant coming straight towards Australia then turning north. And the problem is, when you can't calculate latitude, you don't really know when to turn north, so you either had to see the land or dead reckon and know when to turn north. And plenty of the ships made mistakes, Gilt Dragon being one of them. And it hit that reef out there that you can see, and of the 193 people, that was in 1656, and of the 193 people that survived, 73 made it to shore and clambered up these rocks. And up here is a cave, and that's where they sheltered, and there's some inscriptions in that cave which we'll go and have a look at in a minute. But yeah, out there was about, I think it was 76,000 silver guilders were on the ship, and then there's some stories about how they come to the surface, and we'll talk about those later. But yeah, here there's now, someone's put a swing over there, seabird is just down there, remains of an old sign or a post or something here. And just down there, there's some shacks which people have built for coming out fishing, and that, I guess, maybe they go back to the days of you know, the 40s and 50s when there was a lot of fishing through these areas. And now it's sort of, I guess, all the fishing's gone to the towns. So let's go up to the cave and we'll take a look at the inscriptions. So we're just walking up to the cave. There's a little path up here. I'll keep to this path rather than take a shortcut, because it's already worn and we don't want to damage any more of the vegetation than what already is damaged due to the path. So we're coming up to the cave here. So originally this cave, way back, had a wall across the front of it. And you can see remnants of that wall there and down here. And that's the view from the front of the cave. But someone has knocked down that wall. They also had more sand in the bottom and they've dug that out, probably looking for artifacts. So let's go in there and take a look. So this is the inside of the cave. We'll go and take a look at the inscriptions. Yeah, it took me a little while to find them because they're very worn down. There's some depressions up there with black in there. You sort of think that might be soot, but from a fire they may have had down here, but I actually think it's just algae, just some sort of algae that grows there when the moisture builds up. But here we are looking out of the cave, and I imagine they set this up looking out there looking for sailing ships, and they probably would have had a fire, I reckon maybe down there on that point where that sign was, that they would go and light up the minute they saw sails on the horizon, and that's what this would have been for, and that wall would have just been for protection. So if you have a look around in here, it's a pretty gnarly looking rock, but if you keep on looking, I found, and I've got to find it again because it's pretty faint, but in here you'll see that there is a V, and it has these, I think they're called serifs on the top of the V, and because the Dutch name of this ship, we call it the Gilt Dragon, but I can't pronounce the the Dutch name, but it started with V. And that definitely looks like a V of the type of font and style they used in those days. And there's some other lines here. I'm actually going to get a high res picture of that and use Photoshop and see what I can get out of there in with some contrast adjustments and different things. But there you go, that's what that's the inscription. I haven't found any other inscriptions in here. I'm sure there probably was, but this is fairly weathered and it's just a very soft limestone. So let's talk about some of the interesting stories about this wreck. So in 1963, a guy called Henderson was spearfishing, I think with his son and another guy, and a guy called Alan Robinson was nursing a hangover on the boat apparently. And they come across an elephant tusk and they brought it aboard, and obviously elephant tusks were things that were traded in those days, and the guy who was nursing the hangover was Alan Robinson, and there's some interesting stories about that guy. And he had claimed that he had found the Gilt Dragon some years before but could never find it again or come up with any evidence, so this was obviously evidence that this was an old ship. And then after that, Alan Robinson sort of got gold fever or more silver fever and come back later with explosives and used explosives to blast away at the reef to get at the silver. And there's stories of him bringing up buckets and buckets of silver. And the fact that that wreck was plundered like that changed the whole way the government handled wrecks after that point, like the Gilt Dragon and the Batavia. But a lot of the wrecks did get plundered up and down this coast. So if you want to hear the story or read the stories of Alan Robinson, there's plenty on the internet. He was a bit of a rogue, but yeah, really interesting person. Always was never far from a courtroom. So one of the interesting stories was that when he was getting the coins out of the the calcified deposits, he had a pile of these deposits at his house and he wanted a driveway made. And obviously the calcified deposits would make a good road base. So when the contractors come, he just said to the guys, he told the guys where the road base was from and said, you know, you might even find a couple of coins that I missed. And he went away for a few days and come back and his driveway wasn't even started. When he went out the back, there were the guys with a sifter going through his pile of road base and with a handful of coins. So yeah, that's sort of an interesting one. That comes from a story where Alan Robinson's driveway was paved with silver. So yeah, lots of interesting stories, too many to go over, but at the end of the day, Alan Robinson's name comes up a lot, and yeah, a bit of a rogue, bit of a character. Has written a number of books about all this. Books like, I think it's called Treasure Isn't for the Finder, things like this, on his theories and what he believes, how he was treated through this whole episode. So yeah, definitely look that up. I'll put some links down below to that. But yeah, good reading. So we're going to go to the next cave, which is just a little way away, which is called the Eagle's Nest. and I think I've got the right location for it, called the Eagle's Nest. And the story goes that in the 50s or 60s they found a skeleton in here with some buckles and different evidence that it could have been off this ship. So we'll go and take a look. There's nothing obviously in there now except animal skeletons, but very similar to that one, and a wall out the front. I'm not sure on this one whether the wall was put in there by the sailors or later, but it's the same as the first one, which was most likely put in by the sailors. So here it is. It's a lot smaller than the other one, but has the same wall here. There's some animal bones, and yeah, a lot smaller. So this apparently was where the skeleton was found, or I don't know particularly if it was this cave, but a cave like this in this area. This is the only other one I've found so far. So just sitting up here, you can see all the boats, recreational boats and professional boats fishing out there. If anyone's looked at my channel, there's a previous trip to the Zuiddorp, and this site, unlike the Zuiddorp, is an open site. The Zuiddorp, you needed about 4 permissions from the museum, from government departments and different people to legally be there. This one's not like that. This one's just open. There's no restrictions on coming here and looking at all this stuff. You know, you don't need any permission, you just drive up. So it's very close to Perth, and it's basically open, so very accessible. If you've got a 4-wheel drive, you'll need a 4-wheel drive to get here. So coming around from this direction, I've actually found another cave. So let's go take a look at this one. So this cave here is just about coffin sized if you were going to put someone in there, but I'm not too sure if it was this cave that the skeleton was found in. I don't know. I will make our way back around the front and then back to where the car's parked. So we're just going now for a bit of a look around, a bit of an explore, just to see, Sparse and Jason, just to see what we can find, do a bit of a circuit and just see what's here. So this is a camp spot, a clearing that I saw on Google Earth. It's got a fire ring, but there's no fires at the moment. So that would be a view. What tosspot leaves bloody glass in these places? Geez, that annoys the hell out of me. Shit everywhere. Oh well. Definitely a nice spot. Oh well. We're going to head inland and do a full circuit and a full explore of the track, and probably end up back at the Gilt Dragon cave, maybe where we'll camp if we can. Oh, we're going to climb out of here, and then I think there's some wells and some other places. We'll find a spot to have some lunch. So let's climb our way back out and go find some. Hilux doesn't have it. Well, that took a couple of goes to get out, so we're just going to head out down this steep part. Just here. Yeah. What is it? An old Ford, like a Cortina or something? Something like that. So we've done a full circle and we're back at the start where I think where the sort of gravel road ended and the sand started, and we'll go past those yards with the old cars from earlier on. So we've done pretty well a full circle of this patch of bush, and then we're going to head back out and go to the right instead of the left and have a look at the beach. There's a beach there that people are driving on, so we'll go take a look at that. And then work out what we're going to do from here. So I just saw this old Land Rover and bits and pieces here, so I thought I'd take a look. What is it, an old Nissan and an old Land Rover? Just parked at these old yards. She's an old girl, alright. Still reasonably complete. Looks like this is an old Nissan. And the yard's under this tree. So we're coming back up to the shacks, and we're going to go past the shacks and head to the north and see what's up there, see if we can find a track up there, and then come back. there's not a road directly north, so you have to go way inland. So we're going to pop down the beach and see if we can get up there on the beach and then maybe come back. I'm not too sure how far we'll get and how cut out it is. So looks quite cut out on Google, but who knows when that was taken. So we're going to head up there and see how we go. Just let the tyres down a bit more and let's go. Driven a few kilometres. I think there's an exit up here, so we're going to go out there. There's some people up here.
Let me see if it goes anywhere.
Jason's just going to see if it goes anywhere, and there's a town up here. That must be Ledge Point up there, I guess, in front of us. Bit of a narrow spot here, so
yeah, it hits the tracks.
I'll just check it on Google. I'll have a quick look on Google and just see if it heads to anywhere. Got past the thin patch and now there's a bunch of people up here. Now we're heading back on the tracks. Too bad. Back on the beach. There are some people. That we passed earlier. Because it's quite cut away. I'm just going up here as well. We'll stop that for lunch. Yep, bit Jace. So we're a bit stuck and there's a bit of a ledge, so I'm wondering if I go down onto the beach here, we reverse off and then it's hard down there, then I can spin around and probably head back out that way. So we might dig a bit of a ramp and get down on there. Well, dug a bit, 8 psi and just backed it out, so no problem at all. So maybe we'll make this our spot for lunch if that's as far as nature wants us to get. Okay, let's see what Chase wants to do. So that's lunch. A couple of ham and cheese. Perfect. And what a scenery. Okay, let's get these down and get on with it. So I'm having to back all the way out because of this ledge where I got stuck. So we're going to set up a bit of a V in here, and that'll be our campsite. I might just pull forward a bit further and we'll somehow find a spot in there. But interesting thing, this whole rock could actually fall into the ocean at any time, because if you have a look here, there's a giant fault line that goes all the way through, keeps on going, and that's a long way down, and keeps on going through here. And so this whole area is not connected to the rest, but surely it's not going to fall off today. So that's down where I was bogged earlier, probably about there, where I had to back out. We've got some other guys who've turned up here. This is not that far from civilization, so chances of being on your own are not too bad, but looks like they're set up for the night, so we're going to stay down here. So since there was a shipwreck here and people were up there and there's coins out here and they've found coins inland, I'm going to have a quick squeeze around with the detector, see what we can find. I imagine lots of bottle tops and junk. Went for a detect, didn't find anything except a few ring pulls. So we're actually going to move from here up to a campsite which is up there, a little bit more sheltered, but I'm going to come back here at sunset, get some sunset pics. So let's go. So we found a better camp spot than the other place, a bit more out of the way. So we've just set up here, a little bit more sheltered. We're just over the ridge a little bit. Best seat in the house. So the sun's going down, so we're going to move. I'm going to go and take some photos over there when the sun goes down in gold now of the cave, and then come back here and cook some dinner. So we're just packing up the cars and we're going to head over there. So it should be a good evening for photos once that sun gets down. So let's head over there. Worked out what that is. That's a fence post. There's a fence that comes through here. So let's get the cameras out and we'll go get some shots. Back at camp, and we'll get some dinner happening after we watch this sun go down. So getting dinner ready, and I've got a salad because I'm only here for one night. I've just got some simple food and some chorizo sausage, and I'm going to make some sausage sizzle buns, and that'll be it. Pretty simple. Best thing ever is this windbreaker. If you got one of these, little butane stoves. This is one I bring out for these sort of overnighter type things. I've also got a Weber and that for longer stuff, but that windbreak makes all the difference on those things. So, okay, let's get cooking. So I'm cooking my sausage sangers. They're not far from done. My bread out, some butter. That is the sunset. It's nearly done. It doesn't get much better than that. Jason's over there trying to find his spot for his swag, and we settle in for the night. So I'll probably catch you guys in the morning.